December 6th, 1993.
I live with the memory of this man with his forearm around my neck, my face jammed into the carpet, my pants being pulled halfway down my legs. And when I would scream, he would put his hand over my mouth.
His accusers number over 100.
I was 12 years old. Who would believe me? My word over a priest. Back in the 60s, a priest was like God.
Today, 30 years after the attacks began, the former priest was judged.
Charge you with sodomy that should be punished by confinement.
Tonight, the case of James Porter, the pedophile priest.
This is ABC News Nightline. Substituting for Ted Koppel and reporting from Washington, Chris Wallace.
It's happened again and again in recent years. Someone in a position of trust, a teacher, a camp counselor, a minister, confessing to betraying that trust and abusing children. Even so, the story of former priest James Porter still shocks. Over 15 years in 3 states, Porter allegedly abused more than 100 children who looked up to him as the parish priest. Even worse, as a few parents worked up the courage to complain about Porter, the Catholic Church transferred him from one parish to another, finally into treatment, and then back to a church. Today, in a Massachusetts courtroom, 22 of Porter's victims confronted him, telling of the lifelong damage he did to them and demanding that he be sent to prison for the rest of his life. The Porter sex abuse case may be the most extensive that the church has faced, but it is far from the only one. Tonight we'll talk with a leading Catholic official about how the church is dealing with all this. But first, we want to give you an extended look at what went on in that courtroom this morning as the victims of James Porter had their day. ABC's Aaron Brown reports.
The James Porter who arrived in court today was not nearly the man who left this town 30 years ago. Not a priest, not loved, not trusted or respected. He was all those things in 1961 when he was the parish priest in North Attleboro, Massachusetts. Today, no one can be sure how many kids he molested and sodomized. Nearly 100 have settled civil suits with the Catholic Church. Today, James Porter sat in court not far from one of his victims, Frank Fitzpatrick, who finally tracked him down in 1990. He'd left the priesthood 15 years before. He'd married, raised a family, and kept the secret. But the time for secrets had ended for James Porter and his victims.
These crimes did happen 30 years ago, but it's no less serious if it happened 30 days ago or 30 minutes ago, Your Honor. This man is still dangerous. He lied in the 60s, he lied in the 70s, he lied in the 80s, and he'll lie to you here today, telling you that he'll never do this again. Through this whole ordeal, I've never lied, except 30 years ago. I lied to you, Jim Porter. You remember me, I hope. We were buddies and we were pals. And you made me promise that I wouldn't tell anyone. And I promised you, but I lied. Because I've told everyone.
You will be sentenced today for crimes against my 11-year-old body. But I believe you have committed far greater crimes against my eternal soul and my spiritual life and the spiritual lives of many others. You took what was then one of my greatest strengths, my belief in a religion, my desire to make that religion a part of my life, and used it against me and made me feel that it was a weakness. There's another day of sentencing in the future, one that takes precedence over this one that will hold you accountable for that crime. As a result, I no longer draw strength from the church, but from inside.
Judas's crime, as we know, was that he betrayed one adult. This criminal betrayed somewhere between 1 and 200 children in the town I'm from. I know that life doesn't imitate art. You have a chance, Your Honor, to put this man away so that he doesn't betray others.
I live with the memory of this man with his forearm around my neck, my face jammed into the carpet, my pants being pulled halfway down my legs. And when I would scream, he would put his hand over my mouth. so no one could hear me. Today I'm heard.
Your Honor, if you look at me, you can't see my injuries. You can't see the pain. You can't begin to imagine the extent of the damage. I know that I don't look like an accident victim. I have all of my limbs. I have no obvious scars. In fact, I appear relatively normal and reasonably successful. But don't let that fool you. 30 years ago, James Porter sexually assaulted me on numerous occasions. I was an innocent young altar boy who had been taught that a priest was handpicked by God and in fact personified God on earth. And to me at that age and at that time, James Porter was God. There was no moral ambiguity here. James Porter committed premeditated sexual assault against me and against many of his other victims. James Porter robbed me of my innocence and of my happiness as a child. He caused me to lose my faith in God and in myself. From the age of 12, I believed that I was unworthy of love, respect, or happiness. That feeling never went away as I grew older. He has prevented me from becoming the person who I was originally meant to be. I will never know who I was supposed to be. Instead, he sentenced me to a life of emptiness, self-doubt, loneliness, and depression. I still cry when I see children playing today. I feel as if I have been and continue to carry a dead child within me. The message you will send to every vile predator of children is that no matter how far you run, no matter how many years go by, you are going to get caught and you will pay severely for your crimes. Show no mercy for him, Your Honor. He had none for me.
Rage expresses itself in many ways, sometimes in tears, sometimes in raw anger.
I think he's a useless piece of human excrement and don't deserve to live. I'd like to see him denutted and stoned on the Baptist Common in North Attleboro, right across from St. Mary's Church, where he perpetrated so many crimes. And I'll throw the first stone. Thank you.
Thank you.
James Porter faces 22 suits in Minnesota and 4 in New Mexico after today's sentencing. Who is this man? Friendly priest, then family man, and now the subject of the worst case of church pedophilia known. When we come back, we'll show you 2 different sides of James Porter, as Aaron Brown's report continues.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by De Beers.
This may seem like any other day, but it's not, because now people will be able to talk to one another in a brand new way. That's because across the U.S. and Canada, leading cellular communications companies have joined together to create MobileLink, a new standard in cellular service. So now, whenever you need to stay in touch, MobileLink will make it as simple as a phone call. MobileLink.
Hello? I'm glad you called.
It's simply the way to communicate. To order, call 1-800-995-4000.
Tomorrow, exposing sex scandals in the media can help convict the guilty, but overexposure can destroy the innocent. Finding balance on World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Best fried clams in the city and 36 taps. No one sells more draft beer in New York than I do. So when they came to me with Coors Extra Gold, I said, what do I need another beer for? Couldn't believe it. Now the bartenders can't pour it fast enough. It seems to just take off. It's amazing. Who'd have thought? You know what? I think Coors Extra Gold is the best premium beer in the country, without a doubt.
You don't have to run a bar to know a good beer. Coors Extra Gold. Get back to real beer.
I think it's about the best thing we ever did.
Presenting the Espresso Mini from Krups. Just the right size to give you delicious espresso. 1 cup at a time, 2 cups at a time, or even 4 cups at a time. Then turn on Krups Perfect Froth and turn deep, dark espresso into heavenly cappuccino, as tempting as this. Krups Espresso Mini. It's as simple as black or white. Espresso Mini with Krups Perfect Froth.
At Strawbridge and Clothier.
In July of last year, around the same time, victims in Minnesota filed civil suit against James Porter and church officials. Diane Sawyer and a primetime live camera crew confronted Porter at a park. The side of James Porter you see here is very different from the one he showed in court today. Aaron Brown continues his story.
I was sexually molested by James.
It was numbing after a while. All that hurt carried all that time, all that self-loathing and depression. All that blamed on James Porter.
Someone that I'd been taught to honor, respect, and trust implicitly was doing something to me that I didn't understand, but knew was not ordinary, normal behavior. I allowed this abuse to continue because I felt that something innately bad in me caused this revered, godlike clergyman to do something so wrong. I allowed this abuse to continue because I felt powerless to stop it. Too frightened to tell anyone. Who would believe that it happened? Who would believe that it wasn't my fault?
No jail sentence will repay me for these losses, nor will it ever remove the terrible experience of seeing my mother's anger and pain in the last 8 months of her life at her beloved church, which unleashed, protected, and harbored this monster during and after his activities were discovered.
I began drinking as an altar boy to bury the pain and didn't surrender to it until March of 1990. With my spirit disconnected and my heart bruised, I entered into marriage. I chose a wonderful human being for a mate. The trauma of the violence of the defendant toward me in my youth surfaced, and not knowing where it came from, I thought I was going crazy. I left my wife. I hurt her. For this I can be sorry, but it's his fault.
And after my experiences with him, my life changed. I no longer could go to church. I quit going to parochial schools. By the time I was 16 years old, I was already strung out on heroin. I spent the next 18 years of my life just living that type of lifestyle.
I would recommend that you give him the strongest sentence that you possibly can to give a lesson to the rest of society that adults can't attack kids and get away with it. Thank you, Your Honor.
James Porter's lawyer said this man needs help, and no one disagreed. But there was little else, he said, that moved either the victims or the judge.
This is a man who could not control his impulses. This is a man who was, unfortunately, by the church, put in repeated contact with young children. And I've got to think at some point, if there's going to be an apportionment of the moral responsibility for the acts that were committed, on the one hand, you have the moral responsibility of a very, very sick individual completely unable to control his compulsions. On the other hand, you have got a church that knew as early as 1963 that there had been 30 to 40 reports of what this man had done. And they kept him here in this state supervising altar boys for 4 more years after that, and then he was again put in contact with children.
And then Porter spoke, and he didn't say much, but he did say he was sorry, and he begged for help.
I just want to say, from deep within my heart, how sorry I am to all the people that I have offended, policing me. And I also ask in the name of my wonderful wife and children, I will accept and expect whatever sentence you've given me. But please, I hope it's, and I'm asking what I need, is that treatment facility so I can be near my children and my wife.
James Porter knew he was going to jail, not to a treatment program, but he didn't know how long.
It is the order of this court with respect to indictment 31293, charge you with sodomy that should be punished by confinement at the Massachusetts Correctional Institution at Cedar Junction for a term not less than 18 years, for a term not greater than 20 years committed.
A series of 18 to 20-year sentences served concurrently. James Porter could be paroled in 6. Placed in handcuffs and taken away, his prison sentence began tonight.
No, I'm not satisfied. It boils down to happiness that he's going away, but disappointment that it's not as long as it should have been.
6 years is not enough time for all that he's done. And when you compare with other criminals who are lifetime child molesters who go away for 200 years, something doesn't make sense.
Tomorrow, the hordes of cameras will be gone, no reporters dredging up the past. This case, this public pain is over. In New Bedford, people say it's time to heal. Aaron Brown for Nightline in New Bedford, Massachusetts.
When we come back, I'll be joined by Bishop Harry Flynn, who serves on the Bishop's Committee on Sexual Abuse.
When people work together, they get more done. When people work together, they save time and money. That's why every Macintosh computer comes with networking built in. Sort of makes you wonder why other computers don't.
The new Accord EX Coupe. There's more horsepower. Handling and comfort are perfectly balanced. It has dual airbags and anti-lock brakes. We've taken it about as far as you can go. The new Accord EX Coupe from Honda.
Next time, why America's afraid to talk about race.
Then Leslie Nielsen on the funny side of golf.
On Sister Act 2's Whoopi Goldberg.
On the next Good Morning America.
Buick's building quality and driving value home.
When it comes to standard equipment, Buick LeSabre is second to none. Dual airbags, anti-lock brakes, power everything. LeSabre also sets some standards, like boasting the highest resale value in its class. No wonder LeSabre is America's best-selling full-size car. Or drive Buick Skylark with anti-lock brakes, airbag, and more, just $13,995.
Buick, the symbol for quality, is driving value home.
Never too late to make it better.
Yeah.
Jordache Basics.
Choice. Choose your own way. Jordache Basics ain't your mama's blue jeans. These jeans make you feel cool. Jordache Basics, very blue jeans.
Hey, what's up? Need a hand? A cable. Something about cable TV? Your cable company's in the holiday spirit. A special deal? On HBO? And Disney? Yes!
Call Greater Media or Wade Cable. Get 1 month of HBO and Disney for only $10 and installation for just $5.
Hungry? I see. The installation fee is being donated to the Greater Philadelphia Food Bank. That's more than a helping hand. Call 1-800-CABLE-ME. Get HBO and Disney for half price and help feed the hungry.
Joining us now from Lafayette, Louisiana, Bishop Harry Flynn is a member of the National Conference of Catholic Bishops Committee on Sexual Abuse. Bishop, I know that you are not an expert on the Porter case, but as you heard these victims talk about the terrible damage this priest did, and as you've heard and I'm sure studied the negligent way that the church responded, what do you say to those victims who are angry at the church?
My heart goes out to any victim. And when I heard their pain tonight, my heart was with them. I don't think that we can really look at that kind of pain as it existed and as it was perpetrated 30 years ago or 20 years ago and not come to some understanding that things are different today. I think we know so much more about the pedophile today than we did 30 years ago. But certainly, as I heard them, my heart was with them, and I was moved, terribly moved by the tale of woe that each one of them told.
Bishop,
and I apologize to them.
Excuse me, sir. You say that we know so much more now. Can you say flatly that a Porter case couldn't happen again, a deviant priest being transferred from parish to parish?
No, I think anything is possible in the human situation, but I do know that we have learned so much more about the pedophile now than we did know 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Remember, for instance, alcoholism in the 50s. It was treated as a moral defect, and it wasn't until the late 50s that alcoholism was looked upon as a disease. And now we look upon the alcoholic in such a different way than we did 30 years ago. And I think there's an analogy here in the manner in which the church treated someone who was accused of some behavior that was deviant, and the way we would treat that behavior now in 1993.
Bishop, there are 400 cases of pedophile priests on record, and according to some estimates, there may be as many as 2,000 or 3,000 priests actually involved in abusing minors. How widespread do you think the problem is?
Well, let me tell you from my own experience. I was brought up